Hello students, this is Waqar Ahmed, your economics teacher from Cambridge International School, Dasua. And as you are aware that in last two lessons we have covered chapter number 9, excess demand and deficient demands, initial topics, or we have covered 50% of the chapter, in which we understood what is the meaning of excess demand or inflationary gap and deficient demand or deflationary gap. And now I assume that you can readily understand that excess demand means extra availability of disposable income with households and firms, and deficient demand means less availability of disposable income or money with households and firms. So, extra availability of money creates inflationary pressure or inflationary gap in the economy, and less availability creates deflationary situation or deflationary gap in the economy. So, let us start, or before starting a new topic, I would like you to understand this gap between inflation and deflation through a table. In inflationary gap, actual AD is more than the full employment AD, whereas in deflationary gap, actual AD is less than the full employment AD. Similarly, inflationary gap puts pressure on general price level, which increases prices in the economy. Vice versa, deflationary gap puts downward pressure on the general price level, which decreases the prices of goods and services. So, inflationary gap induces people to spend more because they have got more money, and keep this in mind, whereas deflationary pressure induces people not to spend because there is paucity or less availability of money with people. Now, the situations of excess demand or deficient demand are considered as unstable. If they persist in an economy, then that economy is considered to be unstable in macroeconomic language. So, what tools and equipments or tools and instruments government has got to stabilize the economy? Generally, government has got many measures, but we will study only two measures out of other variables. So, first measure to control is fiscal policy, and second measure to control is monetary policy. Fiscal policy is governed or controlled by the finance ministry, means it is a direct government policy, whereas monetary policy is controlled or governed by the central bank of a country, which is more like of an indirect policy or indirect instrument in the hand of government, because central banks of any country are considered an autonomous institution, means they work under government, but government does not directly or 100% controls them. So, to stabilize the situation of excess or deficient demand, generally government relies more directly on fiscal policy for quick results, and whereas the longer results are considered, government employs monetary policy instruments. And in today's class, we will talk about what fiscal policy is and how it can be used by government to stabilize the economy. So, fiscal policy starts with the word fisc, which means state treasury. And to give you an exact idea of state treasury, I would like you that we can say it in vernacular language as Raja ka khajana. Exactly. So, earlier there were kings and sultans which controls or which holds enormous wealth, and that was Raja ka khajana, or that we can say was state treasury. Now, there are no kings and sultans, but still there is a government which controls or holds an enormous wealth in its state treasury. So that is the meaning of the word fisc. And what is fiscal policy? Fiscal policy is concerned that how this state treasury, or we say Raja ka khajana, can be used to achieve the macroeconomic goals. And those macroeconomic goals are stabilizing the economy through government finances. So basically that is fiscal policy, how state treasury or state finances can be used to achieve stabilization in the economy. Now what are the things which are involved in this fiscal policy? The major part is the government revenue, or how does government collects its income. Revenue means income of the government or income of anyone. Here we are talking about government. So how does government collects its revenue, and how does government spends its income of government, expenditure of government. And for your knowledge, always remember that taxation is the biggest part of any government's income, and that is why so much focus is on taxation from any government of the world. If you will see US, Canada, yeah, the most favorite country, or the European countries, or Australia, or Japan, or now India, we can talk about, all puts a bigger focus on collection of taxes, because those collection of taxes or the revenue collected from taxes is the fuel which runs the train of the government. Exactly. So fiscal policy is generally concerned with how government collects its income and how government spends it. Now what are the constituents or parts of a fiscal policy of any government? There generally are four parts. First is government budget, second taxation, third public expenditure or government expenditure, and fourth is public debt. But in our scope of a study or in our syllabus, we will cover the central two parts which are taxation and public expenditure. So remember, fiscal policy has got four parts, and there are only two parts or two instruments out of those four which we are going to study. They are taxation and public expenditure. So what is public expenditure? If you remember, we talked that AD is equal to C plus I plus G plus X minus M. Out of those four constituents of AD, that G or government expenditure is public expenditure. So if G changes, AD changes, and if AD changes, then situation of excess or deficient demand will also change. So public expenditure is the expenditure incurred by government on consumption or providing welfare to the people, or investment expenditure or expenditure incurred by government on public enterprises. So this is public expenditure, or in simpler terms, whatsoever is spent by government is public expenditure. So now how public expenditure can be used to improve the situation of excess demand? So during the situation of excess demand, we know that public has got more money. So government's duty is that public should not get more money, which it already had. So government should reduce its expenditure as much as it can reduce. And out of this reduction of expenditure, more focus or more emphasis should be on decreasing or reducing that expenditure which is unproductive. It is like if government can stop the construction of a park and construction of a road, then what is unproductive? Generally, out of these two, construction of park is not as much productive as construction of road is. So government should stop constructing the park. This is the meaning of unproductive work. Okay, so government should reduce its expenditure on unproductive work, and I have also mentioned it in the slide. on defense, because generally defense expenditure is a big part of government expenditure, around 6 to 7% of the GDP, and we generally don't see much use of that from an economist point of view. So, government should reduce its expenditure on defense and unproductive work, first thing. Second, investment in public enterprises should also be reduced, if not stopped. If government, and generally government cannot stop investment in its companies, in its enterprises like Bharat Heavy Electronics Limited, Hindustan Aeronautics Limited, or railways, or Air India, or Indian Airlines, or National Highway Authority of India Limited. All these are government companies, and government should reduce its expenditure in those enterprises as well. So, what is the outcome? The outcome is government should reduce its expenditure in public enterprises, and government should reduce its expenditure on general welfare works as well. So, what these things will result in? These reduction in expenditure will result in less purchase by government, and if government will purchase less, government will pay less, and if government will pay less to other parties of the economy, they will have less money, and it will help in reducing the AD, and reduction in AD will improve the situation of excess demand. Or this whole situation can also be understood through one another example, which is that, for example, if government is planning to construct a road, government is not going to construct that road itself, it will give its contract to a contractor. That contractor will give contract to another 10 subcontractors, and then they will employ their workers, and those workers will get the money. So, expenditure by government fills the pockets of the workers, and this is known as trickle down effect. So, if government reduces its expenditure, then this trickle down effect can be stopped, and less money, less demand, improvement in the situation of excess demand. And now the situation of deficient demand, and as we know that the situation of deficient demand is just the opposite of excess demand. So, what policy we employed during excess demand? As far as public expenditure is concerned, we stopped government expenditure in welfare of the people as well as investment expenditure in public enterprises. So, in deficient demand, government should increase its expenditure on all those welfare activities like construction of road, construction of dam, new railway projects should be started by the government, new hospitals, new colleges and schools, new sanitation facilities should be provided by to the people by the government. So, all these government expenditure will put money in the pocket of the public, and public can spend that money, and AD will rise. And in as far as investment expenditure is concerned in public enterprises like ONGC, Hindustan Petroleum, Indian Oil Corporation Limited, or any other public sector undertaking, government should increase the investment. So, all these increases in investment will increase the government purchase, means government will be spending more, government will be giving more money to the people, to the companies. So, they will have more money to spend, it will increase their purchasing power, and now they will go in the market, purchase more, demand more demand of goods and services will increase the production or output, which will increase employment, and it will again increase the income of the people. So, this circular effect will come into motion, and increase in expenditure by government will result in increase in AD, and it will improve the situation of deficient demand in the economy. Now, the second part of fiscal policy instruments, which is taxation policy, And in taxation policy, government imposes different types of taxes on different category of people of an economy. Like a person is earning income, he need to pay income tax. A firm is earning profit, the firm need to pay corporation tax. A company or a shopkeeper is dealing in goods and services, they need to pay goods and service tax, GST. So, different categories of people pay different types of taxes, and all this is the taxation policy of the governments. So, how does this taxation policy interferes in improving the situations of excess demand and deficient demand? Let us talk about it. So, if there is a situation of excess demand in an economy, in this situation people have got more money to spend, and government's motive is to stop them from spending, because if they will spend, AD will continue to rise and situation of excess demand will prevail. So, the motive of the government is to stop them from spending. And how can government stop them? Government can increase the rate of taxes, or government can impose, if it is possible, new taxes. So, if income tax is, let us say, 20%, so a person has got 80% disposable income. So, if that income tax is raised from 20% to 30%, its disposable income will decrease from 80% to 70%. Means if he was earlier able to spend 80 rupees out of 100 rupees, now he will be able to spend only 70 rupees. Government has decreased the disposable income by 10%. So, this is the way how increase in the rate of taxes can decrease the disposable income, and this decrease in disposable income will decrease consumption expenditure, and this will decrease the level of AD in the economy. Now, one more thing to mention, that if possible government can impose new taxes, but as we all know that in a democracy every government need to go for elections after every 5 years. So, imposition of a new tax is a double edged sword. It can increase the revenue, but it can decrease the vote, because who likes to pay taxes? So, this mentioning of if possible in introducing new taxes is, that is why I have written here is if possible, because it is a very cautious thing to do by any government. So, let us skip this part. Now, excess demand, increase in tax, less disposable income, less consumption expenditure, less AD, and it will improve the situation of excess demand. So, let us talk about deficient demand, and deficient demand means people have got less money to spend and there is more availability of goods and services. So, if this situation is in any economy, then the motive of the government is to provide more income or more disposable income to the people. So, if they have got more disposable income, they will spend more and AD will rise. So, in the situation of deficient demand, government should do just the opposite of excess demand. Government should reduce the existing rates of taxes, and this reduction in taxes will raise the disposable income of the people, and if now they will have got more money to spend, consumption expenditure will rise, and this rise of consumption expenditure will increase AD in the economy. So, if more is spent by people, more goods and services will be demanded. This will induce firms to produce more. More output means more employment to the people, and more employment means more income with people. So, this circular thing will again come into effect, and decrease in taxes will result in abolishing or at least improving the situation of deficient demand in the economy. So, it is recap time again, and in today's class we talked about two fiscal policy instruments, government expenditure and taxation policy. So, as you can see from the table, if the situation of excess demand prevails in any economy, then government expenditure will decrease, and vice versa, in situation of deficient demand, government expenditure will increase. And as far as taxation policy is concerned, in situation of excess demand, government will increase the rate of taxes or will impose new taxes, which will adversely affect the disposable income of the people. And as far as deficient demand is concerned, government will reduce the rate of taxes, which will increase the disposable income, and it will improve the situation of deficient demand in the economy. So that's it for today, students. In tomorrow's class, we will talk about another policy instrument, which is monetary policy of a central bank, and how it is used by central banks world over to control the situation of excess and deficient demand and stabilize their economies. So stay healthy, stay safe. Bye.